Well, yay. I'm so happy we have such an intimate group here. We can really have a conversation like we've already been doing. So
Mhm.
thank you all for coming. Just wanted to like give a quick kind of intro what we'll be talking about, how Shannon and I met, kind of, all that good stuff. We are going to be doing a giveaway. So if you post on Instagram, just like a takeaway or a learning that you learned from this and you tag both of us, we'll be picking one of you to do like a free 30-minute consultation. So I will be doing a nutrition consultation and Shannon will be doing a sustainability consultation. I will be doing a nutrition consultation because I am a registered dietitian. I am here in Brooklyn and I see clients one-on-one, and then I just launched my first group coaching program, which starts on Thursday, and Whitney is the newest member to sign up for it. So yeah, basically Shannon and I met, gosh, I think it was like 4 years ago, almost maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was at a Thinks event, the period panties. I don't know if either of you are familiar with those. I'm actually wearing a pair right now because I just got my period yesterday. Yay! Are we still cycling together, Shannon?
No, I'm about a week
Uh,
behind you, but my flow has been all over the
Bummer.
place since coming off of birth
Mine
control. So
same. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, having a baby and then like I went on the pill for a little bit and then I just finally went off of it like 3 weeks ago. So I was like, okay, here we are starting at square one. Um, but yeah, we met at a Thinks event and it was such a cool event. It was kind of one of their first like launch events for, I think, one of their more sustainable lines of period underwear. And we just like sat down next to each other and instantly connected. And we were both living in Williamsburg at the time. And just, we found so many, correlations and crossover of like what we both do just in terms of sustainability and nutrition and how they both have a similar end goal of making us and the people on the planet healthier. So we've loved collaborating over the last few years, and I'm so excited that Shannon is going to be a guest coach on my program, Rewild Reset. She's going to be helping us learn and how to be a little bit more sustainable during the home module. So really excited about that. But yeah, I'll send it over to Shannon, let her introduce herself, and we'll dive into these tips. And again, like use the chat box or just raise your virtual hand if you know how to do that, or just unmute yourself if you have any questions. We want this to be very conversational and educational.
thank you, Anna, for the intro.
Yeah.
So my name is Shannon. I'm a sustainability consultant and coach. So I work with individuals to help them make better decisions in their day-to-day lives without sacrificing their time or their energy, because people normally think when it comes to sustainability that it's going to take all this extra work. And while there are certainly things that do require extra time, energy, and even money, there's also a ton of stuff that you can tap into that really don't require a whole lot. So it's a lot more attainable than you think it is. And then I also work with businesses. I apologize, there's some banging going on downstairs, so if you can hear that, I apologize. Lost my train of thought. There we go. I also work with businesses as a consultant to help them, figure out what their sustainability values are and then use their business as a way to create that impact when it comes to sustainability. And that's a lot of fun because I'm kind of tackling things from the individual side and the business side. There's also the government side, which is a really big nut that I have not, figured out how to crack yet. But, I think it's three different prongs of solutions that we need to be focusing on. So yeah, and there's a ton of overlap too with like what Anna's doing and just like non-toxic living and what kind of ingredients and that kind of stuff are coming into your products and your bodies and that kind of thing. So there's definitely a lot of overlap. And with the program that Anna's doing, I think it's a really awesome sort of holistic approach to all of the different things that we should be thinking about. So Anna, if you have anything to add, if not, we'll kind of get into the 5 tips to sustainable living. Okay.
I'm muted. Sorry. Yeah, that was amazing. I think, yeah, definitely in terms of the non-toxic thing, that's like a whole other realm. And I know we both sort of like toe that line. So, as that kind of information comes up, I'll jump in from like the hormonal aspect or whatever. And we can just go from there. So yeah, let's dive in.
Awesome. So the first tip that I kind of always tell people is to start with something really, really tiny when you're thinking about, how do I make my life, my day to day a little bit more sustainable? So, I'm not sure where you guys are on your journey. Mindell, I know that you've been, thinking about gardening. Whitney, I'm not sure if you've kind of looked into this a little bit, but, starting with something really small and then sort of building up your wins from there. Because if you think about, climate change, plastic pollution, like these things are big, heavy topics that can feel so much bigger than us. And it's like, well, what can I do as an individual? And so it's really about just starting really small. It could be, switching from a plastic toothbrush to a bamboo toothbrush. It can be, saying, I'm not going to buy, if you have clean water in your area that comes from the tap, like I'm not going to buy, water bottles anymore. And you do that quick little easy thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, one done. I may have a lot more to go, but you kind of build yourself up from that. And, I've seen Anna too share tons of stuff over the years that we've known each other about little things that she's switched out in her life. And maybe you can, talk a little bit to that as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny you mentioned I did switch from a plastic toothbrush to a bamboo toothbrush about 2 years ago, and no cavities. Teeth look fine. Teeth are great still. Like dentists didn't even notice that I switched. I had like a big electric one, and then I would have like a travel plastic toothbrush, and I got rid of like both of those. I use a bamboo toothbrush for both of them, for travel and for at home. I also, though, like a month ago, just finally switched out my plastic toothpaste tube, and I now have the toothpaste tablets, which I ended up really not minding. It definitely took a couple of days to get used to, like, okay, I have to chew it and like make this paste in my mouth and then you brush versus just brushing it on. But yeah, those are definitely some of the changes that I've made that were like on the smaller end. And then like I would say one of the bigger changes that I just recently made is I finally invested in a Terracycle box, which is sort of, it's like a catch-all for recycling things that your municipal does not allow you to recycle. So I'm kind of wrapping my head around what that looks like. And it's going to be a little bit of work in the beginning to like make sure everything's washed out and dried and flattened and all of that. But I'm really excited about that one. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love Terracycle. That could be a whole other one on its own.
I know. I need all the tips, so I'm gonna we'll do a separate thing on
that. Yeah. All right. So tip number 2 is to take the whole picture into account. So I know if you look at so much marketing about sustainability, there's like this big focus on plastic, right? Like, oh, plastic is ruining the oceans, plastic is everywhere, da, 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 da. And so a lot of people, like maybe you've even heard of like the zero waste movement. There's like this focus on like, no plastic, none of it, like it's terrible, right? But there's so many other things that make something sustainable or not. Like plastic is one element. But when we think about, let's even say, plastic water bottle, right? Okay, so we don't want to use that plastic water bottle because it might end up in the ocean, right? But what we don't realize is that plastic water bottle is also made from fossil fuels. So when you buy that plastic water bottle, you're also supporting fossil fuel industry. When you buy that plastic water bottle, another thing too, and this taps into like the non-toxic living, is if that water bottle is exposed to heat, like if you leave it in your car or something, that can actually leak toxins into your body when you drink that water. And so it's all kind of connected, where there's so many other things to think of outside of just plastic. And also plastic is not the enemy, right? Like overusing single-use plastic, not the greatest. Like we shouldn't have something that we use for 1 minute and then we just toss it. But there's lots of great applications for plastic, like medical usage. It's allowed us to advance so many things. And a lot of people also think, well, if it's in plastic, I'm not going to buy it. But what if that company is a small business and the only thing that they can afford is plastic packaging, which is often the case with smaller businesses that don't have, aren't placing orders of 10,000 units for something. What if they are supporting, women in, developing countries with their business? Like that's really something to think about. So maybe, yes, they do have something in packaging that, isn't the most eco-friendly option, but it's the only thing they have access to. And they're doing all these other things with their business. And so, think about all of those things when you're buying something. Whenever you buy food, vitamins, anything like that, like look on the label, see what it's saying, and see if there's any other element of sustainability that is worth supporting with your money. And when you buy anything, that really is about voting with your dollars. So yeah, think of a holistic sort of aspect of that.
I love that so much. And if I can jump in here and just like piggyback on it from a nutritional standpoint, that's also like such a hugely important conversation in nutrition too, is like taking the whole thing into account. Like, okay, yes, you should buy organic, yes, you want to like do non-GMO, whatnot, but like, okay, if you can't afford organic vegetables, like a vegetable is better than like eating that vegetable is still better than like buying the organic vegetable. And then at the same time, it's like you want to like read the labels, you want to know where the companies are like producing the food, like what their practices are, what the ingredients are in it. It's just, there's so many similarities there in terms of that. It's taking the whole picture into account, and like, also knowing like what's realistic for you to do in terms of your health. Yeah, like buying frozen, if that's the only produce that you can afford at that time, then like it's better to buy frozen than not eat vegetables at all. So yeah, I love that.
I'm gonna reverse piggyback on you on that.
Yeah.
So like a question that I get asked from people a lot is like, well, is it better to buy organic or is it better to buy local? And again, like something may not be in your price point, and a lot of times you end up having to choose. So like I might go to my grocery and there's organic stuff, but it's wrapped in plastic packaging and it's been shipped from Peru. Or I can buy local, that's not organic, but maybe you can talk to the farmers and be like, hey, we actually don't spray with pesticides, we just can't afford the organic certification. So we're doing our best. So like I would rather support that than buying blueberries from Peru that I don't know, there's no transparency on that. And so I think a lot of this is choosing the lesser of two evils, or choosing what's most in alignment with your values, which might look completely different from me, might look different from Anna. Like, it's individual, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, so the next one, I've been having fun with this one actually. So look for ways that you can set it and forget it. Did y'all ever hear that slogan back in the day? I had to look this up recently because I'm writing a blog post about something right now. And I was like, what's that slogan? And I was like, I don't even remember what that thing was about, but like, I've never forgotten that slogan. Set it and forget it. It was actually about rotisserie chicken maker, which is kind of funny. But look for ways that you can set it and forget it with your sustainability. So like Anna mentioned that she switched to the toothpaste tablets, right? A lot of those companies have subscriptions. So it's like, okay, found the toothpaste tablet option that I want, subscribe, done. I never have to think about it again. Like it's done, Another one is, if you are a homeowner or even if you rent, you can add little aerators, which are these sort of like little metal mesh things into your faucets. And it adds air to the water. And so you use a lot less water, which is great for the environment. But it's also great for your water bill because you use a lot less. And so as I said, I have I just bought a house this year, and so we need to do some upgrades. And so all of the new faucets I'm putting in are water efficient. And so again, like it's done, I put them in, I don't have to think about it again. My water bill is going to be way less, and I'm going to be using a lot less water. And another thing with that is like people don't realize that there's also like an energy footprint or a carbon footprint with water, because there's the water treatment plant that runs on electricity. There's so many, again, like little elements along the way for all of the resources that we can use. So, think of things that you can just sort of like flick the switch on, set yourself up, and then you don't have to think about it again, and you can start thinking about other things as well.
I love that. I don't have a direct correlation to nutrition for that one, but I love that. Set it and forget it. Rotisserie chicken. Amazing.
You'll never forget it.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one is kind of somewhat can piggyback on the previous one, but it's finding ways to switch to renewable energy. So Whitney, are you based in the US? You can just nod if you are. Okay, so you're based in the US, and Del, you mentioned that you are in the US as well. So our electricity that comes into all our homes by default usually is coming from fossil fuels. And what a lot of people don't realize is we actually have the option as consumers, depending on your state, so it is different for every state, where you can say, hey, utility company, I want to get my electricity from renewable energy. And there's different options for that. And so you could power your entire house with renewable energy by literally just signing up. Takes 5 minutes. You can do it directly through your utility company, or you can go through, there's like third-party options, but this is also like another set it and forget it. So years ago, I think it's probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was at a farmer's market in upstate New York, and they had this energy company that was getting people to sign up to do just this, to switch over, because most people didn't know that there's even an option. It's like, I didn't know that I have an option to do that. And so we signed up. They told us that it would be, can you all hear me okay? I know it's a little noisy. Okay.
It's a little loud, but well,
I'm gonna
you.
shift. It's a small group, so I'm gonna shift and y'all are gonna see my bedroom. Just give me 1 second.
I love all the plants.
Yes, that's the plant room. Whenever we have guests, they go, "Ooh, I get to stay in the plant room." Okay,
yeah,
it's a little bit better here. Okay, hang on, sorry, I just need to shift.
No worries.
Okay, so yeah, so for the past 4 or 5 years, whenever it was that I signed up, all of the electricity that's come into my house has been renewable energy. Now, basically, again, you can do it through a utility company, or there's a company called Green Mountain Energy, and they can help you sign up. There's also another one called Arcadia, Arcadia. They facilitate different states, so it really depends where you're located, and you could even look on your utility company and see if that's an option. But just think about that. Think about each month knowing that when you power on your lights, when you plug in your phone, if you have an electric car, when you plug in your electric car, that it's coming from renewable energy. Like, that's huge. So much of our footprints, what's coming into our house. Think about all the devices, everything that we use. So that's one that's a lot easier than people think it is. And again, it's like a set it and forget it kind of thing. So
is there an added cost for that? Like if you do sign up for renewable energy?
So when I switched, the guy said that it would be like 1% to 2% more per month. But if you pay, let's say your energy bills, whatever, I think mine in Brooklyn's usually around $100. So that's $1 to $2 a month, knowing that all my electricity is coming from green energy. Really not that much to think about. And to be honest, we didn't even notice a difference because it always fluctuates each month anyways, right? At least in New York, it's not a flat thing. But again, it really depends on which state, because there's different regulations in different states. So basically you can go on your energy bill and it will tell you how much it charges per kilowatt hour. And the alternative will also give you what that rate is. But I can tell you there's also incentives. So here in New York, in this place in upstate, they have community solar farms around, and we are actually saving 10% because there are incentives in New York State to switch to renewables. So our bill's actually cheaper because we've done this. So it could be even better for you than you think, where you're actually going to save money because of it.
That's amazing. Okay, cool. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah. Anna, you're in New York, so go on to Green Mountain Energy, because that's who I did mine through.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, so the last one is personal changes are great. Anna switching to her bamboo toothbrush and toothpaste tabs, it's great, but ripple effects are even better. And so it's all good and well for me to be the most sustainable individual I can be and not have that filter out into my community or into my family or to my roommates. Because as much as individual actions do make a difference, it's what you do with that and how you carry that to other people that's really what matters. And that's really where the big change happens. I can't tell you the amount of people in my life, whether it's my husband or family friends, who have made changes on their own, not because I told them they should, because I was living my life in a certain way, and that inspired them to then take action on their own. And even, my personal sustainability journey started years and years ago, and here now I am running a business that educates people on sustainability. So it's taking those little changes that really do build into bigger things, and that's really how we're going to solve all of these problems. So work on your own, but also talk about it with others, share it with people, and don't do it in a way like you should change your toothbrush. Like people are going to be like, screw that. But if you be like, hey, check out this cool bamboo toothbrush. I keep going back to that example because it's an easy one, but like people are like, oh, I never thought about that. Okay, I'll do that. And then they might see something for renewable energy and be like, oh, I'll do that. And so it just really builds on it. And that's really where the big stuff happens.
I love that. That is definitely also in nutrition and health too. It's sort of the ripple effect. I mean, they say that like we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I mean, they have done studies that, the friends and family that you surround yourself with, you tend to have the same eating habits, the same exercise habits, all of that as people around you. So it's sort of like if you're starting this improvement on yourself to be more sustainable or to, eat a little healthier, move a little bit more, like the people around you are going to be, hopefully they're going to be inspired by you doing it and not kind of like, oh, she's doing that, like whatever. You don't need those people in your life. You just want people in your life that are going to be supporting you and in your changes. So yeah, that's great.
Totally.
Definitely all about the ripple effect. I love it.
And it looks different for everyone too. So like for me, it's about educating and talking to people about it, right? That's my way to have an impact. Whereas for someone else, it might be running for Congress, legislating, being an activist. Like, so I think a lot of people think it has to look a certain way. And like, I've always said, like, I'm not going to be the person like screaming in the middle of the protest. Like I'll be at the protest, but like, it's just not in my nature to be like the loudest person in the room doing those things. But my activism can look very differently. My sustainability efforts can look very differently. And I think that's really important too, that it's just, you find your way that works for you and that you can, again, have that impact.
Yeah, very true. So true. Amazing.
Yeah.
Whitney, Del, do you guys have any questions? Does anything specific jump out at you?
This is amazing. I definitely resonate with a lot of it, and especially the bamboo toothbrush. I actually am staying at my sister's house right now, and I opened their cabinet, and they have like 3 bamboo toothbrushes, and I was like, "This is so cute!" Like, I gave it to them for Christmas one year, and I was like, "They kept buying it." Or hopefully they kept buying it, and it's not the same one, but. But no, this is great. These are great tips, and I feel like sometimes you feel like a broken record, like telling people over and over again or sharing these things. So I just love, your business and your message and everything. A question I have for you, because you mentioned that you work with businesses, so kind of on an individual level, like what people can do as an individual working for a company, like are there certain things that like I can say to my company to like take a first step to be more sustainable in their actions?
That's a great question. There are tons of things. So I would say open up a conversation, even if it's with like some of your coworkers, and start talking about things like I'm not sure what your work situation is, but let's say that there's like a coffee break room or something, and like there's like all of this single-use disposable utensils and all this stuff. I mean, I know the job that I used to have, they would have these vendors and they would come in and they would have all these like these tchotchkes, like a million pens with their names on it, lanyards and posters. Like I don't want all of that stuff, So starting a conversation with your coworkers and find out like who's also interested in this. And then maybe y'all can kind of be like, well, what do we think about, our business or business that we work for? What do we think could be better? And then maybe taking that to HR or to your superior and kind of going up from there. I will tell you, there's a fantastic podcast episode on the podcast called How to Save a Planet. And it's how, do you know that one? Have you heard the one?
I'm obsessed with them.
Have you heard the one on the Amazon employees?
Yes. Oh my gosh, where it started with 2 of them. And oh my gosh, yes.
So, okay, so you've definitely heard that. Anna, you should check that one out. It just shows you that just like,
I'm looking up the podcast right now.
That's a really great podcast. And that episode on the Amazon employees was just like, because I think a lot of people in your position, Whitney, where they're like, I want to do something, but like, where do I start? And that got Amazon to move the needle. And yes, there were some casualties along the way, but I'm not saying that would happen to you, but Amazon's a mammoth on its own. But like, starting small and kind of working up from there. And even the businesses that you support as a consumer, like maybe there's a coffee shop or a grocery or whatever, there's so many things that you can kind of just ask questions, be like, hey, why do you guys use this refrigerator in your grocery? Because again, on that podcast, there was one about refrigeration, which sounds really boring, but I like that stuff. So yes, there's lots of different things that are in your network that you can, again, start to kind of filter into.
I like that. Like, start with building a community around it, and then you have people backing you. I like starting with that, like a Slack channel or something. Maybe that's finding people that feel the same way about it.
Yeah,
I
mean, even at my, this is kind of unrelated, but at my old job, like there was a knitting club, and like, I mean, I worked in like travel, so like it was nothing related, but like a bunch of people got in a group circle or whatever once a week or once a month, and they just like knitted and they talked, and like organic things come from those conversations that you can't really anticipate, and who knows what will come from it,
Yeah. Back in my PR days when I worked at an agency and worked in an office, I started a Wellness Wednesdays and like got it approved that everyone could actually take 1 billable hour every Wednesday to go to a workout class or like go meditate or sleep in, like whatever they needed for their own like wellness. And it was really cool to like start it, and the company saw that there was enough energy and excitement around it and they wanted to support us, so they like made the extra effort by paying people their hourly rate to do that. So something like that. Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that. All right, so that's it for the sustainability side of things, and I'm going to turn it over to Anna, and she's going to tell you kind of some different ways that you can kind of take some of this stuff and also connect it to the work that she's doing, and a little collabo-wabo that we kind of have with some of the work that Anna's doing.
Thank you, Shannon. That was amazing. I did have one more question, just selfishly, because you mentioned this at the very beginning about
Sure.
contacts, because I wear daily contacts. Like, how should I be disposing of the like cases and the actual contacts? Just like all in the recycling?
all in the trash, unfortunately. So
okay.
Not so fun fact. Well, I'll give you a fun fact and a not so fun fact. Not so fun fact, anything that's smaller than like 2 to 2.5 inches, unless it's metal, is not going to get recycled, because the recycling machines, so antiquated, but the recycling machines, it falls through the cracks essentially. So plastic caps, that kind of stuff, you can just put those in the trash. The counteracting fun fact, Terracycle does have a contact lens box. It might even be free depending on which brand you use, because they have partnerships with businesses. And Terracycle also has a zero waste box just for bottle caps. Or if you get like the kitchen waste one, you can put your bottle caps in there. So unfortunately, just because of the size and the very antiquated recycling infrastructure that we have,
it's every day, I swear, because I also wear dailies, and I'm like, I should at least switch to like the bi-weekly ones or something. And I try to wear my glasses more, but I can't seem to, I don't know. I need my contacts.
No, I hear you. If you can, switching to the bi-weeklies or the monthlies would be the best option, because again, you're throwing it away once a month versus every day.
Every day.
So
it's honestly the biggest, like that's probably my biggest waste right now. That and like still food, like minimizing food waste is so hard. I mean, so this transitions us into kind of like my field of my arena, but like, I obviously like to cook as many meals as I can at home, and I go to the farmer's market when I can. And I've now subscribed to a weekly farm box, which is like, it takes produce from local farms and they deliver it to you. And so there's like no plastic in it. All the packaging is either recyclable, or like even their cooler packs, the ice packs, you can either use them in the garden, or they're like, they're actually like made with nitrogen that's really good for plants. Speaking of gardening. And then, or you can just dump them down the drain and then recycle the plastic. But so that kind of just leads me into, my big passion project right now, which is Rewild Reset. And I realized at the beginning when we were talking about plants and everything, that the original term rewild is actually an ecological conservation term. And I love that. I'm sort of hijacking it to be more of like a human rewilding, but the original idea behind it is to return the land to the animals and the animals to the land, and to let like native species thrive, whether it's flora, fauna, all those things. So that's kind of like where the original term from rewild came from. And I loved it so much. And I just thought that there were so many applications for us as humans, and how we're as a society unfortunately getting much further away from like our natural biological way of living. So that's kind of the whole reason I came up with this new program. So Whitney is in it, so I'm not gonna like talk too much about it, but Elizabeth and Dell, if you're interested in learning more, you can look on my Instagram. It's just Nutrition Squeezed, or you can go to nutritionsqueezed.com, and then it's /rewild reset. And it's a 12-week group coaching program that is going to help you kind of reconnect to your body, reconnect with nature. You know, it'll help support your circadian rhythm, getting back in sync. There's going to be 2 nutrition components. So like a very in-depth kind of nutrition 101, because I am a dietitian, and then nutrition in tune, which is my philosophy of eating to support our natural biological rhythm. So that's like eating for your cycle, eating it with the seasons, which is also incredibly important. And another way to kind of be sustainable in the way that you're eating is just to eat seasonally. You know, you don't want to be buying food that's been shipped around the world. You want to buy what's local and in season for you right there. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about it, definitely just let me know. And it starts on Thursday. I'm very excited. Thank you all for joining us.
And I'm really excited because one of the weeks, I think in November, I'm going to be joining the Rewild program to do a little section on that. So you want to give them an example of a couple of the little what are the different categories?
Yeah, so basically we'll be covering a different category every week. So over the 12 weeks, we're going to cover a lot of ground. This is like way more than a nutrition program. It's honestly a program that I wanted about 5 years ago when I was like getting more into health, when I went back to school to become a registered dietitian. So the first week, we're going to be talking all about rewilding. I'm just pulling on my notes here so I don't misspeak any information, because there is a lot. Rewilding, so like, what is that? How can we actually apply that to our lives to make ourselves and our planets healthier? And then there's a nature connection, which just dives into like so many untapped health benefits of nature, like getting outside and what it does. Chronobiology is the third topic. So that's circadian rhythm, our menstrual cycles and moon cycles. Week 4 is sleep. So like really using all of those cycles to make sure you're sleeping really well. Then we have a mindfulness, a technology, a home. Home is the week that Shannon's going to come in, because we're kind of talking all about like Marie Kondoing your entire house and like getting rid of clutter so that you can make space for what's new. And then as part of that is how to live a little more low waste and non-toxic. Then there's the 2 nutrition modules. Then we'll have a movement module, an integration week, because this is a lot of information, and kind of culminate with really finding your purpose. I mean, now that your mind, your body is going to be in like such a high, vibrant place, you're really going to have a better understanding of kind of what you're here to do. And I think, you know, watching Shannon, like she knows what she's on this planet to do right now. And it's like so inspiring to watch her in her element. And this is kind of what I'm here to do. And I want everyone to feel as passionate and excited about what they're doing. And I think feeling good physically through nutrition and health is kind of how we get to that point. So that's what it's all about.
So yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Whitney, I know Anna's going to see you in the program, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And yeah, be sure to reach out to us if you have any questions about, you know, either the work that we're doing or want to get more involved. And we appreciate you taking the time to spend some time with us today. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank
Have a
you
good
both.
week.